Living with the Himalayan Masters by Swami Rama. And this is a continuation of Chapter 1, and this section is entitled, My Gurudeva and Parents. My father was a well-known learned Sanskrit scholar and a highly spiritual man. Most Brahmins lived in his village, and they would come to my father for consultation and to study with him. My parents were moderately wealthy and generous landowners. My father did not plow his fields himself, but would share the yields with the field workers who did. For 6 months, no one had known where my father was, and his family had concluded that he was either dead or had taken a vow of renunciation. Actually, he had gone on a long retreat because he was having problems with his spiritual practices. He was meditating intensively in the forest at Mansa Devi, not far from Hardwar. My master, on a trip which took him by Mansa Devi, arrived one evening at the place where my father was staying. Upon seeing my master, he knew immediately that this was his Gurudeva. Often, in such initial contact between master and disciple, the two hearts respond and simultaneously open to each other. This can happen with only the contact of a single glance. Thereupon begins communication without action or speech. My master stayed there for a week, guiding my father and finally instructing him to return to his home, which was at the height of about 5,500 feet in the hills of Uttar Pradesh. My mother had given up hope of her husband returning and had started an intensive practice of austerities. When my father returned, he told her about his experiences with the master who had initiated him at Mansa Devi. He told her that his master had said, although they were 43 and 60 years old, they would have a son who would follow him. 2 years later, my master came down from the Himalayas to the parents' village and visited their home. My father was having dinner when my master arrived, and my mother answered the knock at the door. Without knowing who he was, she requested him to please wait because her husband was taking food, and she was serving him. Upon hearing of a guest's arrival, however, my father left his meal and rushed to the door. My master said, I have not come to eat or accept your hospitality. I want you to give me something. My father replied, anything I have is yours. My master said, I need your son. My parents responded, for us to have a son at our ages would be a miracle, but if we can have him, he will be yours. 18 months after this meeting, I was born. The day I was born, my master arrived at our house and asked my mother to hand him over to him. As a protective new mother, she was reluctant to comply, but my father asked her to do so. After holding me for a few minutes in his arms, my master handed me back and instructed, look after him. I will come again later and take him with me. 3 years later, my master returned and initiated me by whispering a mantra in my right ear. I told him that I already knew the mantra and had been remembering it all the time. He said, I know. I am only confirming that which you remember. As a young child, I was not at all attached to my parents, but I remembered my master all the time and was constantly aware of his presence. I thought of him so much that sometimes my parents seemed to be strangers. I always used to think, I do not belong in this place and to these people. From time to time, my mother used to look at my right ear to see the hole which was there by birth. It was a mark that my master had predicted before I was born. At times, my mother used to weep, saying, one day you will leave us and go away. I loved my mother and father, but really used to wait for that day. I remembered at an early age that the purpose of my life was the completion of the unfulfilled mission of my previous life. As a child, I clearly remembered details of my past life. I was awakened every night because my master would appear in my dream again and again. This upset and worried my parents, and they consulted priests, doctors, and astrologers to discover what was wrong. But through a messenger, my master told them not to worry, for there was nothing wrong with me. There were 2 old widows in the same village with whom I used to sit and talk about my future plan. They were very holy. They used to advise me to go to junior high for studies. Actually, they persuaded me, but soon I left the school and did not go back. I thought it was useless for me to waste my time in such a school. After a few years, my parents died, and I went to my master. My master started disciplining me, although it was difficult for him. I rarely missed uttering the word father because I was not at all attached to my physical father. I never missed him because I was given more by my master than a father could ever give a child. My master is not only like a father to me, but far more than that. Any thought that came into mind, he knew. If I thought of not doing meditation, he would look at me and smile. I would ask, "Why are you smiling?" And he would reply, "You don't want to meditate." This helped me because I knew for sure he was guiding me, not only in regard to my actions and speech, but also in organizing my thinking process and emotions. I was afraid of thinking undesirable things, but whenever I thought of something which seemed to be bad, he continued to love me nonetheless. He never controlled my thoughts, but would gently make me aware of my thinking process. The student is always loved by his teacher. A genuine teacher never condemns the student, no matter how bad the student may be. Instead, the teacher gently helps and corrects. However much a child misbehaves, a truly loving mother will continue to tenderly care for him. As a mother raises her child with love, gentleness, and guidance, so a master raises his student. I did not know what a mother and father could give, but my master gave me everything, and he has never expected anything in return, nor had I anything to give. My love for him is immense, for he has done everything for me, educated me, trained me, and so far as I have not been able to do anything for him. A master needs nothing. The spiritual leaders are like that. They take nothing, and they give everything. A real teacher is he who very selfless. No, a real teacher is he who is very selfless and who loves his students even more than a father can love his child. A father usually imparts only worldly means, helps the children to grow, and trains them to live in the world. But a spiritual father selflessly gives that which cannot be given by a father or anyone else. I have not seen an example of this anywhere except in the spiritual tradition. Mother and father gave birth, bring up, educate, and give their property, but a Gurudeva gives to his disciples that knowledge which comes through his direct experience. Imparting such knowledge is a yoga tradition, exactly like a father handing over his property to his sons. A master's divine love is not that of human love, but is something which only the heart, and never the mind, is capable of understanding. In a true spiritual tradition, the teacher gives so much to his student that the student's life is overwhelmed and transformed. After staying with my master for a good time, I was sent to live with my brother disciple at Gangotri. He started teaching me scriptures. He loved me, but he did not understand my rebelliousness or condone my constant arguing with other sadhus. He would send adverse messages to my master about my behavior and my master would then come and take me with him for a while. Later, he would send me back to my brother disciple. I was also unhappy when I was in a situation in which I had to stay with the family as a guest, but fortunately this rarely happened. One day, I was curious to know about my brother disciple's life, and I repeatedly asked him questions about his birthplace. I did not know that renunciates never discuss their past, but on my insistence, he told me about his birthplace. Masters and sages do not want to recall their past, nor do they attach much importance to birthdays, age, or birthplace. They dislike talking about the members of their blood families. When the initiation ceremony is performed, the renunciate himself performs his last rites, and then deliberately forgets about his birthplace and the people with whom he has previously lived. It is a custom in the renunciate orders to not discuss one's past. They call it the dead past and consider themselves reborn. I posed the same questions to my master, and after persistent requests, he did tell me something about his life. He reported that he was born to a Brahmin family of West Bengal. The members of the family were initiates of a sage and used to come down from the Himalayas at times and travel in that area. My master was the only son of his parents, and he became orphaned at a young age. He was then adopted by this advanced sage. My master was about 80 years old when he related the story to me. He has a Bengali accent, and although he did not use his native language, he did sometimes sing Bengali songs. He is a Sanskrit scholar. He is a Sanskrit scholar and knows English and several other languages. Once during my travels in Bengal, I visited my master's birthplace. There was no trace in his house, and I thought of building a memorial in his name there, but he instructed me not to do so. In the village, no one knew anything about him, except two old ladies in their 80s. They reported that a master from the Himalayas came and took him away when he was 14 years of age. Indeed, we do remember him, they said, and were curious to know if he still lived, where he was, and what he had done with his life. My master lives in a cave, coming out only twice in the morning at sunrise and returning to his seat after an hour. Twice a day he gets up from his seat. Sometimes he walks outside the cave, but at other times he won't come out at all for days at a time. There are 3 to 5 advanced students with him all the time. For 3 months in the winter, my master and disciples come down to a height of 7,000 to 8,000 feet. He sometimes travels to Nepal and stays for a few months, 7 miles from the Namcha Barwar. He generally drinks goat's milk and at times the milk of a tiny black Shyama cow, a pet who is looked after by the students there. From time to time, I would give my master a drink of half water and half goat's milk. I gave it to him without his asking for it, and if I saw that he did not take it, I took it away. Later, I would give him more. This was his only food. My master remains in Saya Samadhi, which is a constant state of deep meditation, and speaks very little. We once lived together for 9 months and hardly talked at all. Most of the time he sat with closed eyes in meditation. I did my work, he did his work. There was no reason for talking. There was no occasion for talking. Understanding was there, so oral communication was not necessary. When understanding is not present, then talk is needed in order to relate. But language is a poor means of communication. There was already communication on a deeper level, so there was no necessity for talking. My master and I believed more in silent communication. He answered my silly questions with a smile. He talked very little, but created an atmosphere for my growth. Some people call my master Bengali Baba, and some simply know him as Babaji. I called my Gurudeva Master because I have no word more suitable than this. My love for him is like an eternal law. I never found him unrealistic in what he taught me, and I never found him selfish in any way. All his teachings, through his actions, speech, and silence, were full of divine love. My words are inadequate to comprehend his greatness. I devoutly believe him to be a yogi of immortal wisdom and to be one of the greatest masters of the Himalayas. His reason for living is to enlighten those who are prepared, to love, protect, and guide those who are still preparing. Anyone in difficulty who remembers him is helped. I know this, for many times it has happened to me and several others. Whenever I find time for my busy schedule, I have a strong desire to go back to him, for he is my only guide. With all possible reverence and devotion, I pay homage to him wherever I am. If I commit mistakes, they are mine, but if there is anything good in my life, it comes from him. And that concludes that section of chapter 1. Oh, that was just beautiful. And that was a surprise to me, as I've never read this book before. And so to have his master turn out to be Babaji, my goodness, so exciting. I mean, I know Babaji. I not only know of him, but he has given me much advice in my own life. And so this is marvelous. I'm so looking forward to reading the rest of this book. So I hope you'll stay with me or come back and hear more. And like and subscribe and comment if you will. Perhaps you have some experience of Babaji yourself. Till soon.